Welcome, the timeless, forgotten mystery. There's something about ancient Egypt that keeps pulling us back, not just the pyramids or the mummies, but the strange things the textbooks never mention. Objects buried deep in sealed tombs, devices no one can explain, and symbols that seem to know more than they should. What if Egypt's oldest secrets weren't royal, but technological? No hype, no wild claims, just quiet wonder and questions that still don't have answers. Beneath the sands of the Nile, under the watchful gaze of the Sphinx, lie tools that shouldn't exist, cutting marks that don't match any known chisel, and chambers still sealed shut. For centuries, explorers have been drawn to this ancient guardian. Seismic scans from the 1990s revealed hollow spaces beneath its pores, chambers that remain unexplored. Some researchers believe the Sphinx is older than Egypt itself. The weathering patterns on its body show evidence of heavy rainfall, something the Giza Plateau hasn't seen in over 9,000 years. If true, it means the Sphinx was carved long before the pharaohs ever ruled. Beneath it, a hidden doorway remains undisturbed. Radar scans have revealed geometric voids, rectangular chambers aligned perfectly with the solar axis. Whoever built it understood the stars, the sky, and perhaps even how to make time sit still in stone. Around its base, archaeologists found fragments of strange tools, drills made not of bronze or stone, but of materials that seem to have been exposed to extreme heat and speed. Nearby granite blocks bear spiral cuts, not chisel marks, patterns more like what a modern drill press would leave. Then there was the child who remembered another world. From the age of 4, he drew symbols, maps, and cities that matched no modern geography. His words resembled a language older than Sumerian, known only from a few disputed carvings. He claimed he had lived there, that he remembered falling from the sky into a slower world beneath a strange sun. His drawings showed advanced architecture using gravity as power and circular cities buried under modern deserts. When shown a globe, he pointed to Antarctica and said that's where he studied the stars and the machines sang to him. Now 13, his memories fade, but sometimes he still speaks in that lost language in his sleep. In the desolate foothills of Mount Biong in western China lies a cave filled with metallic pipes and bones that defy classification. The pipes are embedded deep within the rock, branching precisely as if designed, yet dated to thousands of years before metallurgy should have existed. Some lead toward a salt lake, perhaps once part of a greater system. The bones found nearby, humanoid but not human, sparked whispers of visitors from the stars. The cave was sealed, studies halted, and evidence vanished. Locals still speak of lights in the sky and metallic sounds beneath the mountain, of tall figures with glowing eyes walking near the lake. Whatever Mount Biong once was, base, anomaly, or relic, it remains hidden in silence, the bones and pipes buried beneath dust and secrecy. Another enigma lies in a weapon that shouldn't exist, the Ulfbert sword. Buried beneath an ancient battlefield, its blade remains untarnished and impossibly pure. Forged with crucible steel centuries before such metallurgy should have existed in Europe, it's a masterpiece no modern blacksmith can truly replicate. Its perfect inscription, plus Ulfber plus T, marks a level of precision far beyond its time. Some believe the technique came from Persia or India. Others suspect it was a rediscovery of lost knowledge, guarded and then buried. The few real swords gleam in museums, silent proof that someone once mastered a technology we still struggle to reproduce. And then there are the Dropa stones, over 700 discs found in Tibetan caves in 1938, each carved with microscopic spiral grooves forming an unknown language. Alongside them were small skeletons with large heads and no human ancestry. When linguist Dr. Sumner claimed to decode their message, it told of a starship crash 12,000 years ago. The beings, stranded, lived among the locals until their story was recorded in stone. Soon after, the research was dismissed, the discs disappeared, and the professor was silenced. Later, visitors reported seeing similar discs vanish from museums, and nearby, iron pipes embedded in solid rock hinted at something mechanical buried long before recorded history. The locals still tell of the Dropa, small, large-headed visitors from the sky who were accepted by the tribes. Their legend speaks of a ship that fell and of a people who tried to survive. Whether hoax or history, the question endures. Why do so many of these relics, engines, bones, pipes, blades, and discs, exist where they shouldn't? Maybe they're remnants of a civilization lost in time. Or maybe they're messages from something, or someone, that came long before us, and left behind clues we were never meant to find. The more we uncover, the less we understand. Beneath the beauty of Egypt lies something deeper, a hum, a pulse, a memory etched in stone. Maybe the Sphinx, the pyramids, and the forgotten tools aren't relics of superstition but remnants of a science we lost. The sands keep their silence, but every grain hides a secret still waiting to be heard. The powder was aged but perfectly preserved, as though it had been sealed just days before. The airtight conditions of the tombs may have helped, but the chemical structure of the powder suggests it was already resilient to time, purposefully engineered to last. Was this the result of a lost formula or something even older? Theories began to circulate. Some scholars proposed that this powder was created using now-lost alchemical knowledge, that the priests weren't just using herbs and oils but were involved in something closer to proto-chemistry, refining and distilling substances at a level we don't usually associate with ancient times. Others suggested a more startling idea, that the powder wasn't from Egypt at all, but imported through ancient trade routes or passed down from an even older civilization, one that had already mastered preservation and transformation, perhaps even before the desert sands took over northern Africa. We know that much of Egypt's early knowledge seems to appear fully formed. There's little evidence of slow evolution in their technology. Their earliest pyramids were already advanced. Their earliest tombs showed astronomical alignments and embalming techniques that would take centuries to improve upon. Could the black powder be another echo of that ancient inheritance? Could it be a remnant of something even earlier? In the burial chambers of certain high priests, symbols appear next to the jars containing this black powder. But these aren't ordinary hieroglyphs. They are older, simpler, etched instead of painted. Some resemble waves, others inverted pyramids. A few are spirals turning inward toward a central point. Researchers have debated their meaning for decades. Some say they're variants of known glyphs for purification or protection. But others believe they're remnants of a forgotten script, possibly older than hieroglyphs themselves, a kind of pre-writing passed down in secret priestly circles. If that's the case, then the powder may have been more than a ritual item. It could have been part of a hidden language, a material language where what you burn, smear, or bury speaks as much as any scroll or prayer. The Egyptians believed that substances could hold memory, that you could trap a god's essence in a stone, a feather, or a flame. What if the black powder was meant to hold something? A memory, a spirit, a form of communication? What if it wasn't meant to be used, but to be awakened? Some jars, when exposed to modern air and light, reacted. In rare cases, the powder became effervescent, bubbling softly, as if it had been waiting. Others released a faint odor, described as a cross between ozone and cedar, with a sharpness that lingered in the air. Strange reactions for something supposedly over 3,000 years old. One sample even corroded a metal instrument within hours. Was this coincidence, or were the ancient priests sealing something active? And that brings us to the greatest mystery. Why did the knowledge vanish? We have the tombs, the jars, the symbols, but no record of how the powder was made. No recipe, no scroll, no preserved chant or incantation. It's as if the process was deliberately removed from history, hidden in oral traditions, or buried with those who knew it. Perhaps it was considered too powerful, reserved only for a few high initiates, the last torchbearers of an older order that predated Egypt's dynasties, inheritors of knowledge from a civilization we no longer remember. In the end, we are left with a dark substance sealed in clay, thousands of years old, still potent, still reactive, still unknown. A powder modern science can't recreate. A ritual tool that may not even be Egyptian in origin. A black memory trapped in clay, whispering across the centuries. When we stare at it under sterile lights, we are not just studying the past, we are looking into a mystery that has outlived empires. A riddle of transformation, a secret burned into shadow, a question still waiting for its answer. There is a place in Egypt where the wind never quite settles the sand. A few miles northwest of the Giza Plateau lies Abu Rorash, where the desert stretches into nothing until something strange comes into view. From the ground, it looks ordinary, just dust and rock, but from above, massive geometric forms emerge, too straight, too uniform, too deliberate. Etched into the earth are lines like those drawn by a ruler, visible only from the sky. Some call them land glyphs, others ancient survey lines, but they don't match any known Egyptian construction pattern. Thousands of years ago, no one should have been able to see these carvings from above, yet they're there, unmistakably visible. Archaeologists puzzled over Abu Rorash for decades, the unfinished pyramid nearby, the displaced stones, the awkward ruins. But these vast patterns carved into the land weren't part of any monument. They were never mentioned in hieroglyphs. No one claimed credit. And yet they remain, visible only when the desert is viewed from above. Zoom out further and the carvings become even stranger, intersecting grids, spirals, compass-like shapes. Some suggest Roman or British survey marks, but erosion dates them far older. Layers of sediment show thousands of years of build-up. Others propose something more daring. What if these were navigation symbols meant for those in the sky? Could someone, long before flight existed, have viewed the earth from above? Ancient Egyptian and Sumerian texts speak of beings descending from the heavens, the followers of Horus who measured the land from above. If such tales of truth, perhaps Abu Rawash's markings weren't for humans on the ground but for watchers from the sky. Even more curious, some patterns align perfectly with celestial phenomena. One spiral matches northern star trails. A grid corresponds to solstice shadows. These are not random. They are intentional and precise. Yet none of this was known until satellites revealed it. The carvings could only be fully understood from the air, something ancient people shouldn't have had access to. So who made them? And how did they know what they would look like from above? Across the world, the same mystery repeats. The Nazca lines of Peru, the Sahama lines of Bolivia, the geoglyphs of Kazakhstan. Enormous, deliberate, visible only from above. Could this be evidence of a forgotten global knowledge, one that transcended time and geography? Some geologists believe the Abu Rorash carvings predate the pharaohs themselves, weathered beyond dynastic age, hinting at a civilization lost to history, one that didn't build pyramids or temples but left messages for the sky. Patterns only visible to eyes not bound to the ground. Even now, new shapes are being discovered near Abu Rorash through modern imaging. What lies buried beneath the sands remains uncertain. But sometimes, what we see from above reveals more about the past than what we dig up below. Perhaps these markings are whispers across millennia, messages waiting for someone who can finally understand. Whenever you hear the term flying disc, don't just think of modern UFOs or science fiction. Think of the Temple of Hathor. Imagine stone that hums with silence and a carving high above your head, shaped like a light bulb, coiled with mystery, connected to nothing, yet somehow still speaking. In the quiet halls of Dendra, something ancient waits. Whether it's a symbol, a memory, or a warning, it was never meant to be forgotten. Then, there's the brick that resonates, found by accident beneath layers of windblown dust and forgotten history. It looked like any other sandstone brick until an archaeologist tapped it and heard a sharp, pure tone. The sound rang out, clear and bright, echoing like a note from a musical instrument. When analyzed, the brick was solid, no hollows, no chambers, but it vibrated perfectly at 432 Hz, a frequency known as the natural vibration of the Earth. Inside, microscopic traces of quartz gave it resonance. The grain alignment wasn't random. It looked crafted, layered, melted, and cast, as though someone had tuned it on purpose. It was found in a plain storage wall, not a temple, suggesting a forgotten acoustic architecture. Digital models showed that the chamber's shape amplified the tone, creating standing waves, proof that the ancients may have built structures that sang. Legends of singing stones suddenly didn't seem so poetic. This one brick could be evidence that ancient Egyptians understood resonance, frequency, and vibration far beyond what modern history admits. Further west, in the endless sands near the Siwar oasis, explorers uncovered something even stranger, the crystal map. It wasn't made of stone or metal, but of polished quartz etched with precise geometric lines and star-like angles. Under sunlight, the grooves glowed faintly, revealing patterns that matched ancient constellations as they appeared 10,000 years ago. When overlaid on satellite maps, the crystal's curves mirrored buried ridgelines, dried riverbeds, and even the outlines of ancient lakes. It appeared to be a map, not of Egypt today, but of the world before the Sahara became a desert. Some lines extended far beyond Egypt's borders, pointing toward Ethiopia and the Red Sea, as though whoever created it had viewed the earth from above. Yet, the precision was impossible with known ancient tools. No lenses, no drills, no reason for such accuracy unless it had a purpose. Theories suggest it mapped energy lines, underground water, or even celestial alignments. Whatever its purpose, it hints at a civilization that understood both the heavens and the earth in ways our history has forgotten. In another tomb, sealed for over 2,000 years, archaeologists found what they called the telescope tube. Carved from obsidian and capped with crystal lenses, it magnified light, just like a modern telescope. But it shouldn't exist. It predates Galileo's invention by 2 millennia. The tube's interior was perfectly uniform, hollowed with machine-like precision and fused lenses. A wall carving nearby showed a figure pointing the object at the sky, and the tomb ceiling contained a narrow shaft aligned precisely with Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. It was as if the device had been built for stargazing, or something even more profound. Could the ancient Egyptians have possessed knowledge of optics, astronomy, and engineering long before the Western world discovered it? Perhaps the Eye of Horus, long thought to be symbolic, was more literal, a seeing device, used to watch the heavens. And then there's the torch that burned cold, a carving in the hidden chambers of Dendera depicting a serpent inside a bulb connected to a strange box. It looks strikingly like an electrical light source. Modern scientists call it symbolic, a lotus, a serpent of life, but others see something else, a form of cold plasma light, technology that glows without heat. Within the same temple, archaeologists found sealed compartments containing copper plates and scorch marks, but no soot, no signs of flame. Some believe these were components of an ancient electrical system, one that produced light in complete darkness, deep underground. A modern engineer once built a replica based on a carving and successfully created a working, low-heat lamp. The ancients may have known how to channel energy not as fire, but as light that glows cold, a science so advanced it was seen as divine. Finally, in the far western desert, lies the most haunting mystery, the tunnel with magnetic walls. Discovered accidentally during magnetic scans in 2016, the readings revealed a 300-meter-long structure buried deep beneath the sands. The magnetic field pulsed rhythmically, intensifying at night, as if something alive hummed below. When they excavated the entrance, they found smooth stone walls embedded with traces of magnetite, naturally magnetic iron oxide, arranged in deliberate patterns. Inside, compasses spun wildly. The tunnel seemed engineered to manipulate magnetism, creating a steady electromagnetic field. Some researchers believe it was part of a power system. Others think it served ritual or astronomical purposes. But no explanation fits neatly within what we know of ancient Egyptian capability. From the singing brick to the cold torch, from the crystal map to the magnetic tunnel, these discoveries form a pattern, one that suggests ancient Egypt may have inherited knowledge from a civilization far older than itself. A people who understood sound, light, magnetism, and geometry not as myths, but as tools. Each artifact hums with a quiet reminder. Maybe history isn't just what we've recorded, it's also what we've forgotten. Beneath the blistering Egyptian sun, a team of archaeologists stumbled upon what appeared to be a cave, or perhaps a break in the rock. But as they cleared away the sand, it became clear this was something else entirely. A doorway sealed by a perfectly cut slab, half buried yet untouched by time. The stone had no markings, no hieroglyphs, no carvings, just smooth, flawless surface. When the team brushed off the dust, something strange happened. Their compasses spun out of control. A metal detector began beeping wildly before shutting off altogether. The batteries were fine, but the device was dead. Within 24 hours, their excavation permit was revoked. The site was declared restricted, officially for safety reasons. Unstable terrain, unpredictable readings, risk of collapse. But whispers told another story. Witnesses claimed a military team arrived the next day, equipped not with trowels and brushes, but with shielding suits and high-frequency scanners. The entire ridge was soon roped off, GPS signals jammed, communication cut. Whatever lay beneath that slab was no ordinary archaeological find. This wasn't the first time the western desert had revealed such anomalies. Near Bararia Oasis, vast necropolises have been found buried in untouched sand, skeletons with gold masks and materials out of time. Roman ruins dotting the landscape show intricate mosaics and perfect storage systems. Yet nowhere has anyone officially found magnetic activity linked to man-made tunnels. Thermal satellite scans taken before the site was sealed revealed something startling. A tunnel bending at precise, unnatural angles, too consistent to be natural. Nature doesn't make perfect lines, so who, or what, did? Nearby ruins, classified only as Site 11 West, held fragments of pottery laced with metallic flakes. When tested, traces of tellurium and rare earth elements appeared, materials usually reserved for advanced electronics. And just before the team was forced to abandon their work, they placed a geophone MIC into a narrow shaft. The recording picked up a deep hum, a steady vibration at 18.3 Hz, just below the human hearing threshold. It's the same frequency linked to earthquakes, volcanic tremors, and physiological unease. The sound seemed to emanate from within the sealed tunnel, constant and deliberate, like a machine that had never stopped running. Some researchers believe this wasn't a tunnel at all, but part of an ancient system, an underground network designed to conduct or amplify sound and magnetism. They point to similar acoustic anomalies near Abydos, where structures resonate at specific frequencies. Could this have been a prehistoric energy grid, not electrical, but vibrational? Others claim it predates dynastic Egypt entirely, remnants of a civilization erased from history, one that mastered field manipulation, sound, magnetism, and resonance, thousands of years before recorded time. Not far from this mysterious site, another secret emerged at Abydos. In 2023, within a collapsed chamber behind a temple wall, a team discovered 12 black glass-like vials sealed with wax. Unlike traditional canopic jars, these were perfectly smooth, cool to the touch, and etched with microscopic patterns. Inside them lay a dark residue. Laboratory analysis revealed something extraordinary: fragments of DNA that did not match any known life form on Earth. Even more astonishing, the genetic material was pristine, uncorrupted by time, suggesting deliberate preservation. Some vials contained complementary sequences, two halves of a biological code designed to fit together like keys and locks. The wax sealing the vials contained synthetic hydrocarbons, substances impossible to produce in the Bronze Age. Theories spread quickly. Some insisted they were modern forgeries, planted long after the tomb's construction. But the chamber's dust and sediment patterns showed no sign of intrusion for millennia. The second theory, whispered among researchers, suggested that these vials belonged to an unknown civilization with mastery over genetics. Were they samples of something ancient, or something engineered? The vials were discovered near the Osirian, a megalithic temple that predates most Egyptian architecture and seems built with a technology out of step with history. The find hints at a civilization that used Egypt as its hiding place, leaving behind artifacts of unimaginable knowledge. Even more perplexing are the glowing tombs of Deir el-Medina. When archaeologists entered a sealed chamber there, they found that the murals on the walls emitted a faint, blue-green light, glowing softly even in complete darkness. Tests revealed that the pigments contained rare earth elements like europium and strontium, materials used in modern luminescent technologies. But these compounds shouldn't exist in a tomb over 3,000 years old. Some researchers believe the paints were designed to store and release light, functioning like natural batteries. Others argue it was ritual, sacred pigments meant to illuminate the afterlife itself. The scroll never calls the machine divine. It avoids holiness entirely. It calls it a creation, one capable of thought, of observation, and of waiting. One line, often overlooked, describes the machine's silence not as absence, but as patience. That's what disturbs many the most. It waits, but for what? The final phrase resists perfect translation, but scholars agree on its essence. When man awakens what he buried, he will see that he was never alone. Whether myth or memory, the scroll's existence, written by long-dead hands in a forgotten language with knowledge far ahead of its time, remains one of the deepest mysteries sealed beneath the Vatican stone floors. Beneath those same Italian hills lies another anomaly, a sword buried in stone, not legend this time, but fact. In the still waters of Lake Nemi, divers once searching for ancient wrecks discovered something far stranger: an ancient sword, perfectly balanced and preserved, wedged into a block of volcanic rock. Its hilt was wrapped in gold-threaded leather, marked with a symbol no scholar could identify. Yet its most astonishing feature was its condition, untouched by rust after more than 1,500 years underwater. The blade was sharp enough to slice paper cleanly. Historians first thought it belonged to Caligula's lost pleasure barges, but the craftsmanship was beyond Roman capability. Metallurgical tests revealed an iron purity impossible for its era, the kind of refinement achievable only through industrial processes developed over a millennium later. The sword's atomic structure showed signs of intense magnetic and thermal exposure, as though forged under conditions no ancient forge could replicate. These holes weren't isolated. Similar examples appeared near Giza, Aswan, and in abandoned quarries where later dynasties built upon older, forgotten foundations. The consistency suggested something deeper, a shared technique, perhaps from a civilization that predates the Egyptians themselves. Some experts now whisper about a lost age of science, an ancient understanding of resonance, geometry, and vibration, used not to worship gods, but to shape stone in ways modern technology struggles to replicate. These artifacts, silent and solid, seem to whisper that we are not the first to master precision, nor the first to lose it. High above the Nile's bend, in the wind-carved cliffs overlooking the band burial grounds, a forgotten ledge concealed a second enigma, a hidden chamber cut into the rock, sealed with unnatural smoothness as though the stone had been melted into shape. It took advanced scanners to find the entrance. No visible stairs, no carvings, no signs of worship. Inside, archaeologists discovered not gold or scrolls, but tools. Real tools, compact, layered, and impossibly preserved. Some resembled clamps, others slender rods of metal unknown to science. The most baffling were blades so sharp they sliced through ancient papyrus without bending a fiber. These instruments bore microscopic marks and traces of granite dust, as though they had been used to cut the hardest stones on Earth. One device looked like a modern caliper but with hydraulic precision. Another, a sphere split into 4 sections, held a crystalline core that refracted light into geometric patterns across the walls, perhaps a mapping device or optical tool. Most puzzling was a small cube with no seams or hinges. When rotated, one face receded silently to reveal a black, sponge-like pad that rippled when touched, absorbing energy. Tests showed it wasn't organic, metallic, or mineral. It was something else entirely. That single artifact was quickly removed and locked away under military supervision. Each rack in the chamber was labeled with geometric inscriptions, grids and numbers rather than prayers or symbols. The markings weren't decorative but functional, as if part of an instruction system or catalogue. The metals used didn't match any known Egyptian alloys. Some appeared to contain meteoric compounds, nickel, iron, and tellurium, materials requiring temperatures and techniques beyond any Bronze Age capability. Dust analysis dated the chamber's ceiling to over 4,000 years ago, older than the pyramids themselves. And yet the craftsmanship rivaled modern engineering. Why hide such tools? Why not celebrate them? Perhaps they weren't meant for that era at all. Perhaps they were preserved, buried intentionally for a future rediscovery. Stranger still, when the coordinates etched into the wall were mapped, they didn't align with local geography but with constellations. The pattern matched the Pleiades as seen 12,000 years ago. These were not mere tools. They were relics of a knowledge system that predated Egypt entirely, left behind like a message from a forgotten civilization. Not far away, in a dusty chamber beneath the limestone of Upper Egypt, another discovery emerged, a cartouche unlike any other. Instead of hieroglyphic prayers or royal titles, it held mathematical patterns. When decrypted, the symbols revealed numerical values, coordinates, latitude and longitude. The Egyptians shouldn't have understood these concepts. Such systems wouldn't appear for thousands of years. And yet, the stone showed no signs of tampering. When plotted, the coordinates pointed deep into the Nubian desert, to a site with strange magnetic readings. A second cartouche found 400 kilometers away pointed to another, beneath the Nile. Together, they formed a triangle whose corners aligned with anomalies invisible to the naked eye but detectable via satellite. When the pattern was rotated to align with celestial north, the points mirrored the stars of Orion's belt. Were these carvings a form of mapping? A fusion of earth and sky? The conclusion was unthinkable. The cartouches were not royal signatures but coded maps, perhaps markers from a civilization that understood both astronomy and geospatial geometry long before history began recording such knowledge. Then came the mirror, the one that sees without light. It was found wrapped in coarse linen inside a sealed granite box beneath Saqqara. At first glance, it looked like polished obsidian, but it absorbed nearly all light and reflected none. In darkness, however, it emitted a faint, cold luminescence. Under laboratory testing, it didn't behave like glass or metal. It refracted light in impossible ways, bending it around the object rather than through it. When observed in darkness, the mirror revealed the room behind the viewer, but not as a reflection. It showed things exactly as they were, unflipped and undistorted, violating every law of optics. Perhaps these are not myths at all, but memories, fragments of an ancient science erased by time, buried beneath stone, waiting to be rediscovered. For if even one of these artifacts is real, then history as we know it is only a shadow of what once was.